Welcome. This is another one of our series of videos on smart electric hydrofoils. Today I'm interviewing Hans Thornell from Green City Ferries in Sweden. Welcome everyone. Today I'm talking to Hans Thornell from Green City Ferries. Just to kick us off, can you tell us a bit about your maritime journey? Because you spent many years doing management consulting. And so Green City Ferries is a little bit of a pivot, I think.
Oh yes, actually I'm a naval architect, and I started my career designing tankers, 200,000 deadweight tons, and all the shipyards in Sweden went bankrupt in the 70s, so I became a management consultant.
Oh, I see. So this is a pivot back to where you started from.
Exactly. A special feeling to start up a new shipyard in Sweden for me. However, about 10 years ago, I met a guy almost in the street, and a company called Echandia, and we got some grants, and we had to start operating a battery electric vessel in Stockholm. That was the idea. And actually, which is interesting, nobody was interested. It was an absolutely stupid idea. Who has ever heard about batteries on a boat?
Well, this was 10 years ago. So
This is 10 years.
2014. Yeah.
2013, yes. It's interesting. So someone said, well, start your own shipping company then. So I started Green City Ferries. And then I used the Chandia to install all the equipment. And in 2014, we launched Move It. It was a battery-driven vessel. It could charge in 10 minutes.
Right. What kilowatt chargers was he using?
We used 500 kilowatt charging.
Okay. So a bit bigger than the average car charger.
Yeah. So
but
this was
megawatts or no?
No, this was absolutely new. Absolutely. Movies was an 8-knot vessel taking 100 passengers.
Okay.
So then it started. I mean, fast charging was the key to passenger vessels, I would say.
And would it charge at both ends or at every stop?
No. One round charging at the same place in the old city of Stockholm. Then a couple of years later, we were involved in another project with a high-speed ferry. And we built it in Riga, and it was running on an air cushion, which lifted the vessel up halfway out of the water. And that was the key idea, because if you're going fast, you have to move a lot of water per second. It's a friction. So lifting half the vessel out of the water was a good idea. Anyway, we found that we needed batteries, so we developed new batteries for fast charging. And finally, we split the companies. I took Green City Ferries and went on my own, because Chandia was very successful with the batteries. They make LTO batteries, fast charging.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And that's what you use in Green City Ferries, I imagine.
That's what we use there to fast charging. Yeah. And so we continue our cooperation. Anyway, later on, we realized that new technology is very difficult to introduce. So we decided to use existing technology all over.
Yeah.
And we found Technicraft in New Zealand. And they have a track record of about 40 vessels of this size operating today with foil-assisted.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the only foil-assisted vessels that are operating, actually. All of them comes from Technicraft.
Okay, so the Beluga 24, which is your latest and greatest product, kind of from Green City Ferries, that's a foil-assist vessel. Can you explain why foil-assist was better than fully hydrofoiling?
Yes, I can. We save about 80% of energy cost. And the full foiling uses half as much energy as we do, which means you save 90 instead of 80. And the
Right.
difference is not so big.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
not worth it.
Yeah, the extra, are there extra safety concerns or just extra technology concerns, costs?
I would say it's complicated. And people are maybe hesitating what happens if you run into a log or a orca or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't had great track record in Hong Kong to Macau. Although that's much faster, I think, than most of the ferries we're talking about going there.
Yeah.
They're 40 knots or plus. But yeah,
So,
it's still at 25 knots. I wouldn't want to run into a log.
no, right. So we focus on the proven technology. We use BAE systems for the whole driveline. We use Hamilton water jets, and we use actually it's Toshiba batteries. And with the track record, Technicraft have 40 operating foil-assisted vessels today. All of it is proven technology, and this is what operators and investors want to hear.
Yeah, so I was going to say, what does Green City Ferries offer operators? Because there are other electrical ferry providers out there now. What's the differentiator for Green City Ferries?
First of all, it's speed. If you go fast, you could do much more transport work than if you go slow. That's interesting. It's economy.
Yeah.
It's pure economy. So going fast is economy, and being energy efficient is economy. I mean, if you save 80% of the costs, I have an example from New York where it costs you about €1 million in diesel, and if we use our boat, it would cost €100,000. So it's a big difference. So it's pure economy, and by the way, it's emission free also.
Yeah. Well, there you go. and actually, I wanted to talk to you about your power train for the Beluga 24, because when I looked around at electric ferries, yours was interesting because you have a dual powertrain. You have both hydrogen as an option and battery electric as an option. Can you talk a little bit about the hydrogen option and why that's in the mix?
I would say it comes from how it looks in Stockholm, because we have a big archipelago. We have about 60 vessels in Stockholm, and many of them go quite far, 50 nautical miles or 60 or something. With batteries, there is a limit in range. We can have, with fast charging, we have a range of about 15 miles. If we have another type of batteries, we can come up to 30 nautical miles. But in the archipelago, that's not enough. So that's why we look at hydrogen for longer ranges. And then we can operate for a whole day and then fill once a day. And what is interesting about hydrogen, first of all, it's difficult with the regulation. For the battery vessel, we will have regulations from DNV, Norske Veritas. That's important. And we are the first case for them. Batteries is not complicated. High speed is not complicated, but high speed batteries is more complicated. But we'll make it. It's not that difficult. However, when it comes to high speed and hydrogen, nobody has done it before. So they have a special project going on now to see how can we classify a high speed vessel with hydrogen. Charging, if I may call it so, is easier actually, because we have planned for charging on an island in Stockholm archipelago where there is a windmill.
Oh, that's useful.
Yeah, and you connect a container with an electrolyzer to the windmill, and then you produce hydrogen. And then you fill the hydrogen in cassettes and drive it down to the quay and exchange on the vessel.
Are you using with hydrogen storage, there's a couple of different variants. There's very high pressure, there's slightly lower pressure and cryogenic. What was the option that you guys have gone for?
It's high pressure, 350 bar.
Okay,
not liquid. Yeah.
That's not too high pressure, but it is quite high pressure. It's interesting that you're producing the hydrogen on the island, because one of the criticisms of hydrogen has been its ability to be transported easily, because it leaks quite easily. It takes up a lot of space. There's lots of issues with transporting it. But if you're using it very close to where you create it, you avoid some of those costs and some of those issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
we
makes
don't
it
do it yet. We don't do it yet, but the plan is, and we realize it's much easier than charging batteries, because you need high voltage net close to it.
Right.
But here you can have on any island.
Do you think you could have a wind turbine that was charging a battery? That would be an obvious way of doing it.
Yeah, it is, because there are a lot of losses in hydrogen when you make the hydrogen and when you use the hydrogen. So it's always much cheaper to have batteries.
Yeah. Did you look at methanol or any of those kind of alternate fuels?
No, we did not. We just went for batteries because we're talking about commuting and short distances.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing for this vessel. It's short distance, and 30 nautical miles is enough for most cities.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is. There's not many cities. I mean, as you said, Stockholm's a little bit unusual with the archipelago.
Yeah.
I think Auckland also has a Gulf route that's a bit longer, but yeah, most cities, ferries are short. They're getting across a waterway that people are stuck on, or they're going up and down a river, and they can make multiple stops as they go.
You have only in New York, you have about, I think it's almost 40 high-speed vessels in the same size.
Yeah.
But the problem is that if you lift in batteries into a normal catamaran, it will be too heavy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I was going to ask, if your hull, are you doing carbon fiber hulls?
Yes.
But yeah. Okay.
We wouldn't work with aluminum because we save about 8 tons by building in carbon fiber, and that is about the weight of the battery pack.
Right. Yes. Okay. Well, there you go. That helps get that weight back, doesn't it? That's the
yeah. So weight is a key issue here.
Yeah. And you mentioned creating a shipyard, like you mentioned rebirthing shipbuilding in Sweden. So does Green City Ferries build all of your own ferries? Is that the intention, that they'll all come out of a shipyard in Sweden, or are you working with other builders elsewhere?
Difficult to answer. Yes, our intention is to have the first shipyard in Sweden where we can develop production methods, etc., because the intention is to have a serial production of the same vessel on and on and on and on. And for example, for the States, according to Jones Act, you have to build them there to operate them there. Yeah. So there we have some discussions going on, and then we have other areas that are ferry intensive, so to say, and we will probably use local production also there.
I was also going to ask, is ferries, I mean, obviously, unlike a lot of the companies I looked at, have names that could be anything, and they could do any sort of vessel. Green City Ferries seems like you're quite locked into doing ferries. Like, you're not going to do offshore support vessels or workboats or other types of vessels. Ferries are what Green City Ferries is all about. Is that fair enough?
Yes and no. What we do is one type, 150 passengers, and then so because we have to do it in the mold, the whole hull. But I know that the size of the hull could be used for cruise transfer vessels. It's about the same. So that might be an option, but we focus very much on commuting in cities.
Yeah.
It's a huge market.
Yeah, it is a big market. It definitely is a big market. And so where will we see the first Green City ferries? Obviously, you've had some in Stockholm already that you mentioned,
No.
but the first Beluga 24, where we're going to see the first Beluga 24 ferry?
I think about end of next year or beginning of 25.
And in what city? In Stockholm or elsewhere?
Elsewhere.
Can you let me know, or is it's a secret?
No, it's a secret.
It's a secret. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm finding interesting is there is this drive to electrify ferries and to electrify maritime transport. And if a ferry operator is considering, do I keep my old diesel ferry? Do I maybe try and retrofit it or do something else to it, try and make it more sustainable? What advice would you give a ferry operator about, well, this ferry's only 5-10 years old. Should I be swapping it for an electric ferry now? Do you think they should, or what do you think they should be thinking about?
It depends. I know there is, we have one example in Sweden, an operator who has a catamaran, but it goes down in speed, doing 12 knots today, but got some grants from the government and electrified the vessel. Prolonged it to be able to carry some more batteries. So often it's worthwhile, but you can't do high speed anymore.
Yeah. So is there an option to take high speed ferries that are diesel powered and think about bringing them down to being slower speed ferries that are electrical?
Yeah. I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's, so much stranded assets.
Yeah, there's billions of dollars of assets already in the water, and often, the holes are often the bits that last the longest.
Yes,
quite capable of staying some more. I guess it might come down to whether the hydrodynamics work at slower speeds, the way that they were designed to work at higher speeds. But I'm not a naval architect. Does that make sense, that if you go slower with the same hull, that's probably okay, but you can't take a slow hull and make it go fast?
exactly. You need to go below 13, maybe down to 12 knots, half the speed. But that's doable.
Yeah, there's certainly ferries I know of that run at that speed and are still economically viable. So that makes sense. And do you think, like, the competition seems to be, to me, it seems fierce. I've looked at lots of different electric hydrofoiling vessels that are out there. And in the ferry sector, there seems to be quite a few. Do you think the competition's quite fierce? Do you think your focus on ferries is one of the primary advantages for Green City Ferries?
So far, after what I know, we are the only ones who have track records on foil-assisted vessels, because all the foil-assisted vessels today, they are built in aluminum and diesel-driven, but they are all of the same design from Technicraft.
Right.
So it's not so easy to copy, but I hope there will be more of this, because the market is too big for us alone.
Yeah, and we need to see more electrification for sure.
Yeah. I'm very skeptical about fully hydrofoil, because of the first reason I said there is a risk, and it's more complicated, and the gain is maybe not enough, because it's all about economy. Yeah. And from what I've heard from people in the business, fully hydrofoil is very good in smaller vessels, 20 passengers or 30 or something. But in this size, maybe not. Yeah. And there's also a battery issue, which is interesting. The fast charging batteries we use, they have a weight of 11 kilos per kilowatt hour. If you compare to the normal batteries, NMC or LFP batteries, it's around 6 kilos. And if you go for car batteries, they're down to 2.
So why choose something that's so heavy for its kilowatt hour values?
Because it's a long lifetime, it's high security, and it's fast charging. If you go with a commuter, take you 15 minutes to get into town, and then you charge for 15 minutes and then go back. Instead, maybe you charge for 30, 40 minutes. You lose a lot. Maybe you need another vessel to keep the time schedule. So that's the importance.
And LTO batteries, do they have a good track record of recharging and not losing capacity when they're fast charged?
I think that the lifetime is 3-4 times longer than the normal batteries, the NMC batteries.
Right, yes.
So
Well,
they're very special.
That makes a good, interesting, it's a good choice then, that trade-off. And I guess that's driven by your practical experience of doing this before in those other vessels that you've already electrified.
Yes, it is. And I said a couple of years ago, I don't give a damn about the environment. This is all about economy. That's still true. However, I care about the environment, but the most important thing is economy. And economy comes from energy efficiency. It comes from actually high speed, because we use the same amount of energy per nautical mile in 15, 20, 25, 30 knots, same consumption. So why go 15 when you can go 30?
And you can, half the journey time. Better for the passenger too.
Yeah. So economy is it's what it's all about. And the capital costs for a new vessel can be to a large extent compensated by the lower energy cost.
Can I ask about there's also the cost of the charging network.
Yes.
Do you assume that there's already a charging network in place, or is it something that Green City Ferries gets involved in? I think you mentioned having a containerized option.
I think this is one of the big obstacles. We can't sell any ferries if there's no charging infrastructure. So we're working on it. We're working with other companies, but it's complicated, all the regulations and who will be responsible. Is it the harbor, or is it the region, or is it the PTA, or who is responsible? And I would say that for today in Stockholm, everybody's pointing at each other.
Yeah, right. That's how Australia tends to be this similar in most cases. And so you guys are taking a helping hand, but working with the different stakeholders.
Yep. And then we got the financing, but that is smart financing is also an issue. It's economy. Because of you buy a new vessel, it's a lot of money. I mean, you're talking about a 10 million euro or something. But there are good ways to finance it. Long-term financing keeps the cost down.
Yeah, okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say to our audience today, Hans, before we wrap up?
Yeah. Give me a call.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day. And thank you for giving us so much of your time.
Thank you.